Hey everyone, welcome to the For the Love podcast. Delighted that you are here. My fearless companion, Amy, is on vacation this week, so I am flying solo. And I think what I want you to know about this next hour you're about to have is that this was a firing on all cylinders conversation in which I don't think one time I looked down at any of the questions I had prepared for my guest, because our conversation achieved liftoff in the first 30 seconds and never set back down. And this is a real back and forth between two women who have similar stories and a lot of shared experiences. And I have a feeling that this is going to be one we get a lot of feedback on. I have a feeling this is going to be one that you might want to share with your folks. Today we are talking about what happens when the faith that you were raised with no longer fits. And what it looks like. Is it even possible to hold on to the core, to hold on to Jesus and also let go of the baggage and the trauma and the harmful narratives? Our guest is the wise and the witty, the very fearless Katherine Backstrom. And you may know her from a whole bunch of her viral videos. We sort of discuss maybe this last iteration, most recent iteration of herself, that was kind of an internet sensation, if you will. She wrote a best-selling book called Holy Hot Mess. And then she just has this online presence that is funny, it is honest, it is sincere, it's transparent. And she's got a brand new book out called Not That Wheel, Jesus. It's a spiritual memoir, particularly for anyone who is in the middle of a faith deconstruction / reconstruction, someone asking hard questions of the religious system that you might have been handed, someone who has experienced a lot of loss and change around some of those areas, and maybe having the sense, to use something that MK said in the interview, as a new sort of awareness or understanding is dawning on you that you might have been robbed. You might have been robbed of the possibility of joy or freedom or a lack of shame. And that comes with its own grief, and that comes with its own resentment, frankly. And so we are kind of all over the place. We talk about sex and purity culture and what it means to emerge from that space. We talk about church, and the organized religion side of things. We talk about what is true, what is good. We talk about the internet. It's because this is a huge grab bag of faith, deconstruction, and reconstruction. And I think that it's going to resonate with a whole lot of you. So having said that, let me welcome to the show the wonderful, truth-telling Katherine Backstrom. The internet made us friends,
Yes.
for maybe...
Fan. Let's be real, Jen. The internet made me a fan. Okay, and then later we became friends.
Yeah. We've been
But
friends, and
yes,
you're friends with Tyler, and
I love
our
Tyler.
little circles have merged, which is so lovely, and I'm so delighted
It's
about it.
wonderful.
And it's been really amazing to watch your sort of evolution, um, which a
Yes.
lot of us understand.
Have.
A lot of us are also involved, inside that process. And I feel like I kind of met you on the last edge of the last iteration of you. Does that
You
feel
knew
right?
that. I think you are so, gosh, you are so seeing. It's really
Hmm.
crazy. You're right. And I have to give you some credit here, Jen. The fact that our worlds keep getting more and more similar is not happening in a vacuum.
Mm,
A big part of this is there's a lot of women like me who I think is maybe 5 or 6 years younger than you
mm-hmm,
who saw you go out ahead of us
mm,
and it gave us permission.
mm,
I was doing the same job. I was just way behind you
mm.
and I was watching you not just as a fan but as a woman who was kind of like how is she going to handle this?
Totally.
And I'm grateful that you kept making brave choices
Thank you.
because it really opened the door for and gave me permission to make my own brave choices, which they all weren't the same as yours,
Yeah.
but it was the courage and the permission, I think, if that makes sense. And I just
Mm,
want to give you some credit for that because it's really not a coincidence,
mm.
and women don't give each other their kudos enough. But you've been, like I said from the start, I was a fan, and it wasn't about the writing, it was about your life choices and what they said I could do.
Thank you. That's a really nice thing to say. And I so appreciate that because, my brain immediately goes back to the people who were doing that for me, where I was in
Ooh,
the last
who were
iterate,
those people, Jen?
probably my lead mentor, the one that I drew the most courage and knowledge and um like even instruction from was Rachel Held Evans.
Oh,
Like,
that's an
and
Alabama girl.
it's an Alabama girl, and interestingly, she's
Mhm.
younger than me. She was younger than I was, but she was
She was so
ahead of
brave.
me. Yeah, she was ahead of me. And I watched her continuously make
Mhm.
brave choices, and she did it with grace. She did it with a lot of self-respect. She did it
She
with
did it with
dignity,
ease.
and she did it with intelligence. Smartest
Oh, you're
person,
right.
one of the smartest people I've ever known. So
You're
hers
right.
wasn't just willy-nilly like, well, this is just how I feel.
Right.
Hers
A
was
hot take.
grounded and
Yes.
deeply studied and really thoughtful work, which meant a
Yes.
lot to me because as a spiritual leader at the time, I mean, I think that would have been the larger heading over my career. I took that seriously, and I didn't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be
It
wrong.
reminds me, I don't know if you remember this phone call because I imagine you have quite a few like this. But I called you at one point and I knew that how you spoke about your spiritual journey was very grounded.
Mhm.
And I thought, Jen, can you just teach me all the answers so I can memorize them? So when people challenge me, I'll have the right answers.
Yeah,
And it was like I could feel your heart breaking for me because you're like, I don't have that,
yeah.
but I have some books that I could recommend. And Rachel Held Evans was
Mhm.
one of them. I think it was, is it Chasing Sundays? Is that the name of
Uh-huh.
it? Is it?
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. I think that's where I
Searching for
started.
Sundays. Searching
Searching for
for
Sundays.
Sundays.
Thank you. I'm the worst with
Uh-huh.
titles. But what I learned is that groundedness and that confidence doesn't come from having the answers to pull from your head.
That's good.
It's a different kind of spiritual knowing that gives you peace that you don't have to explain it to anybody
That's
because
it.
you know it to be true.
That's
And
it.
once I got to that point in my journey, like I think things started snapping for me because I fear was gone
Yeah.
and I didn't have to explain it. I didn't have to do theological backflips. And so it's
Mm,
funny because I remember asking you for the answers and you had answers,
mm,
but you were like, that's not how you get there. And I just wanted to let you know I get it now. At the time, I was like, Jen, that was crappy. Like, you can't give me the
mm,
keys to the kingdom.
Yeah, yeah.
Why not? That was rude, not very loving and generous of you. And it wasn't that I expected an answer to all my problems, but I thought you knew something. Like there was a
Yeah.
secret place in the Bible I could go read that would fix everything.
That's right. It's just that simple. No, I remember being in such a similar place, and because I think maybe just you and I are the same in that when it came to the evolution of some of my doctrines and theology and values, I think what actually initially led me where I was starting to experience cognitive dissonance and have a
Yes.
real fit inside my
I call that the
body,
spiritual itchiness. That was where I was too.
that started with my heart. Because my
Mm.
heart was like, this doesn't feel good. This feels
Right.
wrong. My eyes
Yes.
are showing me
Yes.
that this is breaking people down. That's breaking their hearts. It's breaking their bodies. It's breaking their families. Something, my heart was saying, read the
This isn't it.
room. This
Yep.
pain should be telling you something. So it was work. The work that you kind of just described for me was relocating all that knowledge from my heart and bringing my brain into it. I'm going,
Yes.
your heart is trustworthy.
Yes.
It is. It's leading you well.
But we're taught not to believe that.
Yes. I
Um,
had been so brain for so
yes.
long because that's what people
Yes.
said to us. Here's the
Yeah. Well,
things.
deny your body. Your heart is untrustworthy. It can
All
lead
that.
you into bad places.
That's right.
But also, you're looking at evidence and fruit, and
That's
I
right.
couldn't deny evidence, and I was being told that that evidence, was not there, and I couldn't unsee it once I saw it. The
That's
pain.
it. That's it. There just comes a point of no return. And then when you do the hard work, and by the way, we're just jumping way ahead.
Dang, man. I'm sorry. This is how I
No,
do. I'm
let's just
like
get in
deep
it.
end every time.
Let's just get in it. There, after you do the really hard work of integration, when you
Ugh.
have spent enough time listening, learning, widening your gaze, widening your perspective, seeing, like expanding your exposure, there is where that peace comes in, and you no longer feel compelled to have
Yes.
these pat answers for everybody who's
Yes.
coming at you.
Yes.
Because it's actually not pat at that point. It's so broad
No,
and deep and wide,
but
and then it
true.
becomes a knowing. Yeah,
Right.
and
The
true.
knowing has been so liberating for me. And I think the what's really been interesting about this, and I everybody I speak to that's been on this growth journey of any sort, spiritual, emotional, whatever, you get to a point where you realize that confidence comes from not knowing everything
Hmm.
and being at peace with what you can't figure out. And I think that that's a humble posture that I was originally taught to be true of Christianity.
Yeah,
The I don't have it all figured outness. But the people who are the loudest voices right now in the church are the opposite of that.
that's
They
right.
have so much spiritual certainty. And I was feeling like a doubting Thomas. I think I write about this in my book, and like he got such a bad rap, you know.
Mm,
But I'm really starting to believe that the more holy posture isn't certainty; it is question. And that's so like Jesus, anyways.
hmm.
And so once I started realizing that what I was doing, asking big questions, was very Jewish and very rabbi
Yeah,
adjacent, and
that's
very
right.
much like this guy that
Yeah.
I love, this rabbi that I wanted to follow, then I didn't care as much. Oh, Jen, this is the best way to explain this. My ADHD brain just popped it into
Great.
place. Do you know how you never go to a terrible marriage, like your friend that's got the worst marriage, and you're like, how can I fix my marriage?
Mm,
I got to the point where I was like, these people are spiritually lazy and hateful. Why do I care what their opinion is of what I'm labeled, of how I live? And once I saw that, like, it wasn't an arrogance, it was, I don't want my spirituality to look like yours. So you can't
hmm.
advise me on this. I don't like how you treat people and how you interact with the world. Then I didn't need to know.
Yeah.
That was the knowing for me, that I am in line with my values that I feel like are intrinsic by God.
Mm,
He put me here to be tender.
hmm.
He put me here to reach people. I wasn't able to do that. I was at conflict with myself in the church.
Yeah, that sort of self disintegration where you are just out of alignment internally is not tenable. I
No.
walked through life a little bit like that for too long, and it was just a disaster. I was afraid. My pain point was fear because I
Gosh,
knew
yes.
once I came into alignment, which meant the outside was going to have to match the inside, which meant what I was going to say was going to change. What I was going to do is I knew what I was going to lose. And I
Yes.
was scared to lose it. And I've had to make so many apologies to my
Jen,
friends and to the community for like the delay, for the
what about to
delay.
yourself? There was such a
Yeah.
grief for me in facing this, because what it felt like was looking at my life and being like, there's so much loss here,
Mm,
especially my sexuality. That's a big one for me that I'm
hmm.
still wrestling with, because it's very painful to look at and be
Hmm.
like, ooh, I was robbed. My
Yeah.
church robbed me of joy. And that's the opposite of what was promised.
Mm,
And, I think that once I realized I participated in that behavior, I was able to make amends. But the hardest thing for me has been making amends with myself and
mm,
facing that grief, because it feels like I get such a late start on joy now.
Let's go
And
back
I
a
just
little bit.
wonder, like, how did you get to the point where, I think for me, I'm still in the healing phase where I still feel resentment.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be honest about that because I haven't found a cure. I think it's not a cure thing. I think it's like time and, I'm softening a lot towards the church. But I'm in a place where I'm open and I'm trying to heal my spirituality, but I'm still so angry.
Mm.
And I'm not going to get an apology, Jen.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that?
It's so complex. And then there's not one path through it I have found. Because I also, it was later in my life where I had a reckoning with how much I was also robbed
Hmm.
in every way.
Yes.
Just in every way. And so my hard turn into like joy and expansion and freedom has really been in earnest since my divorce. In earnest, the last 5
Yes.
years. It preceded that. I had already left like
Sure.
the evangelical space way
Yes, you were
long
doing
before.
the growth.
Yeah, I was already, but in earnest in the last 5 years, which has a lot to do with um, losing a marriage that the church said I should have at age 19. All
Hmm.
the loss that was baked into that, and then kind of a sexual
Yes.
recalibration entirely. So
That's where my grief came from.
we're going to get into
Oh,
that.
this is yeah, let's definitely get into that. But yes, I want to hear it. So,
Well, I mean, I will just say, like, frankly, when it comes back to the church, to your question, I'm still not in church.
me
I
neither.
am still not in, and it's been 5 years. I had an early free pass because my life fell apart in July 2020, and it was COVID, and no
Oh,
churches were meeting. So,
yes,
including
right.
mine, which I'm a founder of.
Yep.
And so that just gave me, that was just, I didn't have to deal with it because there was nowhere to go.
Right.
But even when it
Right.
came back, I found that I could not comfortably and freely sit in the sanctuary. And I tried. And
No, it felt like a trauma response in my body. I
yeah,
tried to mentally get past it because I was going to a safe place.
I
I
was
still
too.
care about this. I found a church that I love in Huntsville. I would call it my home church if I ever went. I can talk to that pastor anytime.
Yes.
He is a friend. When I walk into that space, it feels like going into a home where an abused child experienced abuse.
Mm,
I don't know that that's going to leave my body for a very long time. And it doesn't
yeah.
mean that I'm never going to go back. But I also listen to myself better now. And I'm not going to go somewhere where my body feels like it's on fire. It's telling me
Yeah,
something.
that's a wisdom. And I mean, I can just tell you from somebody in a similar place, just slightly older than you, I have promised myself, having learned to trust my own body and my own instinct and my own
Yes.
knowing, that if I would say if my posture toward organized religion slash church ever changes or shifts or evolves in a different direction, and I feel like that is something that I really crave in my life again, that I will listen to it and I will go,
Me too.
but I'm not there.
Good.
But
Me
I'm not
neither.
there. So
And I'm that's where I say this like position of certainty. I can tell you right now that whatever I say on this podcast in 5 years, I may feel very different. And I
sure.
like that about myself now.
Mm.
And I think that's like I think, what's hilarious, Jen, is I actually think I got these from a friend, these little AirPods for
Uh-huh.
this fancy podcast,
Yeah.
and I might have them in the wrong ears. I'm not sure. So sorry I keep touching them. But because,
I've
you
done
know,
it. One time, let me just drop this in. I had like a partnership with an an Airbud. What do you call
it
them?
was a partnership.
Like,
It was a
yeah, like a little
partnership.
partnership for
Yeah,
their
I think
deal.
they're earbuds or AirBuds,
Airbud.
the golden
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
retriever.
They're right. You're
That's the
right.
golden retriever
Earbuds.
that plays
Thank you.
basketball.
Thank you. Correct.
Yep.
I always get these all jumbled. Anyway, so I sent in the picture I was supposed to send. I'm like, here they are up close to my ears. And then they sent back the thing, we can't use this. You have them in upside down. And I was like, it's hard, you know? I didn't go to college for like
I didn't
AirPods,
either. This is
you
not
know?
fair. And it doesn't have an R or a L, I don't
Yeah. And
think.
I
If it,
wouldn't call it intuitive, to be honest.
no, I
So
do. This is where I start to feel my age sometimes.
uh-huh.
It's okay.
I
I
know.
like it
I
here.
know. My kids are always like, okay, mama. I'm like, I know.
Oh,
I know. I reckon it. I see.
I'm with it.
Okay.
I've completely accepted my space
Here's
here,
what
but
we've got to go back in, because we really just got into the meat of it. But
we went to it. Let's go to the top.
let's go to the top in that we're really discussing all of this that we are talking about right now is what you are writing about in your new book, Not That Wheel Jesus. So
Yes.
we're uplinking this
Yes.
whole conversation to a project that
Yes.
you have been working on for what, a couple of years?
A couple. As I'm not sure if you've experienced this as an author. It was probably due 2 years ago,
Sure,
but
sure,
then
sure.
life happened,
Yeah.
and then so yes, a couple of years. I'm not even sure when the last deadline passed, but we're here now.
We're here now. Let's talk about it a little bit because it's not your first book. You've written
This is my
before.
fourth, maybe
Yeah.
third or fourth.
Yeah. But this one is in a little bit different territory.
Yep.
And so let's go high first. If you
Oh
can
yeah.
just sort of say, this is sort of the premise of the
Okay.
book. And
Yes.
then as we have been doing, like drilling down in some of the like
Absolutely.
specifics.
So, what we've been talking about, the umbrella over everything is Not That Wheel Jesus. I pitched this book to my publisher as stories from a faith that went off road in the best and worst possible ways. And my plan was to be hilarious, the absurdities of growing up evangelical in the South and hell houses and what would Jesus do, bracelets, which ones were cool, all of that fun stuff. And in that outline, nowhere was an actual divorce,
Yeah.
or a deconstruction. While some of that was already, as these things don't happen overnight, they were all falling apart under the seams.
Mm,
But I am a powerful delusion builder. And my idea of this book was a surface level overview of all the funny things that
mm,
Christianity brought to me that I didn't really keep. Um, and then in the middle of it, I had this meaty life moment that shifted everything. And I had to hit pause and say, if I'm going to be true to myself, this is the biggest not that wheel Jesus moment I've ever
mm,
experienced. As a writer and as somebody who's trying to reach my audience with something meaningful, I need to process this. It belongs here.
mm,
And so I was writing the book as my story was being written, and that was a
mm,
totally new process for me. So I went to go record it last week, Jen, and I read it for the first time out loud, and
mm,
it was like reading it for the first time ever.
mm,
I'm still processing every bit of the things in this pages. It's a weird kind of project in that way, but I love it because it's the truthiest thing I've ever put on paper.
mm,
It's very raw. And I think it's going to meet people where they are, hopefully, if they're right where I am.
mhm,
I think there's people who have written books earlier in this process and people who have got a cleaner ending that have more answers on the way. And I think this book sits somewhere in the shelf in between those types of ideas.
mm.
This is somebody in the messy middle whose faith fell apart and her marriage. And at 40, I'm picking up the pieces. I think that's relatable, unfortunately, to a lot of us.
Mm,
But that's the stories that's in here. They're all funny. There's fun
mhm,
stuff in here. And then there's my life falling apart underneath. And there's that like kind of dichotomy of levity and depth, but that's life. And so I love it. I'm proud of this book. And it's
mhm,
the first book I've ever brought to the world where I feel like I can stand behind it 100% and say, it's me.
mm.
I didn't fluff anything. That feels good.
It does feel good. You can't really put a price on that kind of integrity. It's hard to
No.
explain how liberating it is to just say the truest thing at that moment and also holding that loosely, like, this is what's true
Yes.
for me right now.
Yes.
And circle back in 5 years. Let's see where we're at.
Exactly.
Like, that's
Exactly.
so comforting to not feel like, because I know my impulse. My impulse sometimes is to take the same dogmatic approach and just
Yes.
drop it in a different zip code. Well, now I'm dogmatic
Yes.
about this. And
Yes.
against that, and now I've
Yes.
got all the new certainties, but they're just over here in a different way, and I
Yes.
don't find that any more comforting. And
I
I've
did
noticed,
that.
yeah, I did too. And
I was angry.
yeah,
And I write about it in my book. I say I just go nuclear. At that point, I almost hated my own audience. I
mm,
mean, they came to me for all the wrong reasons, I felt like, and then they kept telling me, "We miss you being funny, and we miss your
mm,
spiritual stuff." And I'm like, "I'm not your dancing monkey. My life is falling apart."
mm,
And so I just kept dropping these truth bombs about where I was without any consideration of the people who had carried me to that point.
mhm,
And now I hold all of it a lot more softly because, I mean, Jen, you live in Texas still, I think,
mhm,
right?
I do.
I'm in Alabama.
Right.
I am surrounded by people I disagree with who I love deeply.
Yep.
I think during the pandemic, I unfortunately I got to the angry part of my journey during the
Mm,
pandemic, And so I was also a hermit. And also, all the things I was putting on the internet didn't have in person consequences.
Mm-hmm.
So, weirdly enough, I put all of these big bombs on the internet about my big thoughts on the church and how it treats queer people and racism. And I was doing all the big hot take, it was working for me. Let's be honest, the internet loves anger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt validated. Well, then the pandemic kind of resolves. I moved back home to Alabama. My marriage has fallen apart. And guess who has to go stand in society with all of her big words that she's put out on the internet
Yeah.
and feel the weight of how that affected people?
Mm.
And I didn't like the way I felt about myself anymore. And then I had to stop and ask myself some questions
Mm-hmm.
about it's true, but is it kind? What are my values
Mm.
anymore? And that's where I've kind of I've leaned more into a quieter and softer spiritual era.
Mm.
I still believe in justice
Of
and I will get
course.
angry.
Yeah. And there's a
It's
place
different
for it.
though. It's different now.
Yeah, that there's a place for it and also a way to harness it. And that is wise and useful and productive as opposed to just scorched earth.
Yes.
I Do you know who Dallas Willard is?
No, but I'll Google them.
Okay. He was a theologian, like a
Okay.
professor, beautiful human, like
Oh,
just
the good
the
stuff.
deepest waters. Like the deep
Oh, I love
you
it.
had to have on all your thinking to like be in
Like Richard Rohr, I saw you had on your
the
podcast.
very isn't he the very best?
Good
Gosh,
stuff.
good stuff. Dallas
Good stuff.
Willard, someone asked him in an interview one time, how would you, if you had one word, how would you describe Jesus? I mean, this is a professor of religion and theology. And he said, relaxed. And I remember thinking, relaxed.
So
I did not get that impression my entire life that Jesus was relaxed. Like
he was uptight.
this was tough.
Relax.
And I loved that
That's
answer.
beautiful.
That to me, the more evolved you become spiritually, the deeper your wisdom, the truer your faith, the more relaxed you actually get with Jesus. Not tighter,
My
tighter,
goodness.
tighter, which is what I see
Yes.
everywhere. Tight, tight, tight.
Yes.
Like we got to
Yes.
get this shit in the White House, you know?
You're exactly right.
It relaxes into something joyful,
It
humble,
does.
curious. Like
Yep.
we release all that tight tension. And so
You're
that's
right.
my goal. My goal is to be like Dallas
You just
Willard.
nailed. So I think my word that I'm trying to find peace right now
Yeah.
in my life. When you step out of something or you're pushed out of it,
Yeah.
whatever happens
Sure.
first, and your body is left trying to be like, I mean, it feels like I've gone to a fireworks show and then I've stepped into a quiet room.
Mm,
And I'm still, the body is still responding to everything it's experienced for 40 years in
sure.
the
Of
church.
course.
And I'm finally getting to the place where my ears aren't ringing.
Mm,
I'm starting to understand what my baseline feels in my body. And this is not just happening in my faith, it's happening in a relationship now
mm,
where I don't have to have the roller coaster to feel alive.
mm,
And in a way, it's kind of been I think I'm going to grow out of this. I think I'm in a healing season, and
mm,
relax is a important thing.
mm.
But it's also been interesting to see how people respond to that. And I wonder if you've experienced this too. When I grew up evangelical, I was the brightest light in the room. I
Mhm,
was performing constantly. I
mhm,
didn't know how much I was performing. But when I finally was able to just be me, my personality is not the same as it used to be.
mm,
People expect me to be unhinged and hilarious on the internet. And that was something coming out sideways. It just was.
mm.
You don't get that hysterical without something building inside of you.
Yeah.
And I still have a killer sense of humor, but it's not going to go viral and land me on Ellen anymore because I'm not falling apart so much that everything has to feel so big.
Mm, yeah.
And that piece has changed me, but it's changed the way people perceive me. And a lot of them don't like my changes.
Sure.
And I was wondering if you experienced that when you're on this big growth journey spiritually and emotionally. Did you also experience like a great mass exodus of people in your life who used to fit?
Oh, geez.
I mean,
I mean,
It's lonely over here, Jen. It's getting
yeah.
hard.
I mean, like, only if you could count like a million people. Like, if that counts, then yes. Yes, I've experienced it. If a million people meets the threshold that
Good.
came and
Not
went
good.
from
It's
my
just,
socials, then
you
yes.
know, and then
Yeah.
you have to get to the point you're like, you know what? Eff it. I'm
Yeah.
at peace with me, and y'all are going to have to just hate it, I guess. I just didn't know it was going to do all of this.
Yeah.
I was just trying to heal. And healing brings about a second wave of problems.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of that phase.
And say more about that. What now are the tension points north of where you were, but south of where you're going?
Yeah, I think right now my career is that tension point.
Mm.
Here I am. This is probably my last Christian book. I love my publisher. They love me. Once people read this, I guess they'll vote whether or not. I don't know how you decide if somebody's a Christian author or not. It's this really weird space.
Mm.
And so this is where my career was, but I'm not sure if I'm allowed here anymore.
Mm.
And so I'm putting out my truth and I just hope it lands. And then as a single mom, I have to also hope that I still have a space to talk when it's done.
Mm.
And so I would be lying if I didn't say there was a little bit of fear. I know I'm on the precipice of something. This is either going to take me somewhere new or it's going to change my life. And I'm okay with that because
Mm.
it's my truth. But I just don't know what next looks like.
Mhm.
And that's just, I have to be at peace with that. My life is no longer going to look like the path that I had planned out. And honestly, it wasn't working out that way anyways.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of fear and excitement. They kind of hold hands. I know this is positive change, but change is hard.
I remember when I was in that exact place, and for it, there was I was it was a slow burn. Like, anybody with eyes to see could have looked in at me and gone, "That girl, she's not long for this world." I mean,
I
I
know.
was struggling, and I was
Uh-huh.
pushing against some real favorite tropes of evangelicalism
Oh, yeah.
already. But when
Yes.
I came out as affirming for the queer community, I knew that that was going to be the nail in the coffin. I'd seen enough to know where it was going,
Yep.
and so that
Yep.
was a definitive moment for me. And I remember right before it all hit, and it was very predictable, so I knew what to expect. And
Yep.
I
You
remember
knew.
I remember thinking and saying, I I cannot any longer handle
Hold
the
it.
internal cognitive dissonance. I can't do it. I cannot look
Yes.
myself in the mirror. I
Didn't feel
I
good.
I can't sleep at night. I
Yeah.
am miserable. I'm making other people miserable. I
Yeah.
am a coward. I am
Yeah.
choosing to not stand with communities that I believe in. I just
Yes.
cannot do it anymore. I cannot do it anymore. And I remember thinking, I I think this will probably be the end of my career. I think
Yeah.
this will probably be it. Like, I
Yep.
don't, because I had no imagination for what else I could do, or where I would land or who would have me. I didn't know
You're
that part
right.
yet. That was an unknown. And so all I knew was what I was going to lose. And I was like,
Doing it
let it go.
anyway. Let's
I would
go.
rather
Yep.
go go work at the florist on Main Street in Buda, Texas,
Yes.
and punch a clock. And that's just going to
Jen,
be my next life, I guess. Like, I am okay with it.
literally.
I'm okay with
Me
it.
too.
But turns out there is Sarah Bessie gave me the language years ago of the wilderness. And I had always made a very cozy and profitable home inside the city gates, where all the structures were, where all the
Yes.
hierarchies were, where the
Yes.
fancy steeples were. Like, that was the world I came from, and that was my first language, my native tongue. I knew how to.
Yep.
She gave me the language of the wilderness. Like, you're going to get kicked out of the city, sorry. But out
Bye.
here in the
Yeah.
wild, there is a bunch of people like dancing around fire pits, and you just haven't gotten there yet.
Those
But
are your people.
you're going to find them. And she was right. And they are.
I
And
love
that is
that.
a huge, vibrant community that you're going to be in. It's there. There's not
You're
nothing
right.
there.
You still have those clingers though who like to remind you of who you no longer are and make you feel bad about it. And I'm getting better at not receiving those voices, but like it's a funny thing because I see they're like, well, you're not as funny as you used to be. And I have
Mm.
to pause and think, is there something wrong with me?
Mm.
Have I lost joy?
Mm.
Yes, I'm more direct. There's all kinds of it does because I don't ever want to lose that ability to hear challenges and actually consider them.
Sure.
But just there's some goodness in the quiet, and that's, I feel like I dropped the bomb. I walked through the rubble. I danced in the fire pits with my friends, and I've emerged into this like quiet post-apocalyptic space where I can hear my own voice, and I really have no idea what comes next, but at least I have me.
Mm.
And I've lost myself to such a deep level in my own, like that marriage was the last delusion to fall.
Can you talk about that? Are you comfortable talking a little bit?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, what should we specifically cover here? That's such a vast thing.
Because you were already like in this visible, like public process of
Yes.
wrestling against old
Yes.
ideals and kind of making a break from that evangelical
Ooh,
ideology. And then,
yes.
and I'm
Um,
not sure necessarily that anybody in the watching public knew what was coming for you. You probably knew, as most people do, that it's fraying
yes.
at the edges behind the curtain.
Yes. Yes. I felt like it was my holy job to hold it together, and I thought I had.
Mm,
And I found value in that, even though there was no love, no tenderness, no connection in that marriage for a decade,
mm,
which he would acknowledge and I would acknowledge. We have a very comfortable relationship now. But even though that was absent, I didn't care enough about myself to even clock it.
hmm
I was just in it, and I was going to stay in it until somebody walked away. And frankly, I'm so grateful he did.
mm,
I feel like that showed a lot of maturity that I wasn't able to see
mm,
yet. But at the time, all it felt like was one, your whole world has fallen in on you in a very public way. And it's one thing where you put pieces of yourself out on the internet. I felt like I could give people what I wanted them to have.
mm.
That's not lying. That's self protection. But there's no rewriting this.
Yeah.
And when there's people coming who are already hating me, the Theo Bros, like, and see, I knew you were already gonna wreck your marriage with all of your progressive ideas, and
Yeah.
like no surprise there. And I'm already hurting, and so I'm like, shit,
Yeah.
maybe I'm on that path and I've wrecked my world. And then there's that level of I'm a forward facing person, and I've always shared my family's joy. But people being let in on your family's grief is very, very different.
Mm,
And all of a sudden, the weight of what my job would feel like to my children and my ex,
mm,
it hit different, and I didn't know what to do anymore.
mm,
And so it was scary because it was also all of a sudden I'm a single woman, and I know you know this.
mhm.
Now it's not just my world has fallen apart. I don't know how to face this publicly. I don't even, I'm also grieving. I'm scared. I had breast cancer, by the way. I don't have any boobs. How am I going to be on the free market if anybody's ever going to love me? I'm
Yeah.
facing everything all at once. Ooh, it's coming back to
Yeah.
me. Um, and also now I have to figure out, can I sustain myself? Can
Totally.
I afford myself?
Yeah.
I didn't marry a doctor. I married a college kid, but he became one.
Mm,
And that was a very generous lifestyle.
mm,
And I'm not, I knew that I needed to support myself. I just didn't know what that would look like. And as a writer, there's not a 10-year guarantee of anything.
never.
And so now you understand the stakes of I have this project I'm so excited about, and I have this life that's so peaceful and beautiful. But whew, there's a weight in getting it out there, and you're trying not to put an expectation on it. It's just a heavy and beautiful moment. And
Mm,
the marriage falling apart, I will say it set me free. But when you are set free, then you have to start figuring out what next looks like.
yeah.
And as somebody who had nothing but rules and structure my entire life, that was very terrifying.
Totally.
And I'm loving it, but it's still fucking scary.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm 5 years in and I still wake up in the middle of the night sometimes in a full panic. Can I sustain
Yeah.
it? Can I worry. I
Can I
just
stay
worry.
relevant?
I just worry
Hey,
all the
do I
time.
need to go have a meltdown in a Starbucks and be funny about it so I can keep my audience
Yeah.
excited? Like, believe me, I have had all of these thoughts because, Jen, it's funny. Once you wake up to how you were dimming your light, what you were suffocating inside, you never can go back to it. But you also see that life so clearly, and it almost becomes like, gosh, I mean, it's too bad I don't believe all that stuff anymore. I know how to win that game now. It's
Mm,
like when you're 40 years old and you're like, I wish I could go back to high school and kick ass.
yeah, exactly.
I look back on that world and the rules are so simple. Now I could go back and win it,
Mm,
but I'm never going back there. There's no freedom there for me.
for sure. Let's talk a
But
little bit about Because you and I share a similar story. I got married at 19. We were in
Hmm.
college. We were married for 26 years. And then, I got divorced, 3 weeks before I turned 46. So let's talk a little bit. I have a lot of women in my community, and you probably do too, with very similar story.
Oh, yes.
Slide up the age, up or down, or
It's my
whatever. It does.
favorite
Yeah,
story.
but it's just that story is
Same
very
story.
common.
Yep.
For whatever reason, for
Yep.
whatever brought us all to the disintegration of our marriages. But there's a lot of us, and
Yep.
there's a lot of us that were raised in those religious structures. And so let's talk a little bit about what we are learning, have learned, hope to continue to learn about some of the sexual trauma and
Yep.
limitations that we were handed, that there is no other way to say it, deeply negatively affected our marriages. Not just
It
our
wrecked
marriages, but
us.
everything. My
Wrecked
psyche,
me.
my psyche,
Wrecked
but
me.
certainly my marriage. And so
Yes.
I'm unlearning all that
Oh,
post marriage,
unlearning
but
is terrifying. You have to give yourself permission every step of the way.
mhm,
And the messaging that is drilled into your soul for your whole life doesn't go away quickly,
no, it's
even
baked
with
in the
safety and freedom.
sauce. Yep.
Even with safety and freedom.
Yep.
And so I will say, the sad part about my marriage is it started because of purity culture.
Mm,
I mean, we felt the pressure to be married in order to do things the right way.
yep.
And we did that at like 19 or 20 because our bodies were like, holy crap,
Yeah, of
and
course.
so we started off married with this dysfunctional understanding of intimacy. And here's what I'm learning about sex without even, I don't have to say too much because now I'm starting to understand it on a deeper level. I didn't know what intimacy was because intimacy is incomplete without that aspect. And that aspect was so fried for me.
Mm,
There was no understanding of intimacy in a marriage.
mhm,
So none of it was enjoyable,
mm,
none of it. And that wasn't his fault, or it was what we were taught.
yeah.
And so then, unfortunately, there's so many women, like I'm pretty sure most of us at this point, who have traumas on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I could not have sex without dissociating my entire life,
Mm,
Jen. I didn't even know that's what I was doing.
mm,
And it breaks my heart for that girl because I now understand what embodied intimacy is like.
mhm.
And the first time I experienced it, I wanted to go curl up in a shower and cry for the fact I'd never had it before.
Yes.
And it's not just sex, it's every level of intimacy then, because once that's unlocked, it all interconnects. That's how you're supposed to be loved.
Right.
And then that's like I told you about that second wave of grief that happens when you start
Mm,
healing.
mm-hmm.
There's nothing like being loved and met in this way. And then while you're experiencing this immense, oh my God, this awakening, this, I feel alive in my body, I'm starting to soften. People are like, you're looking great. I'm like, I feel great.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this sad, quiet whisper of, I didn't get to, from your inner child and the teenager
Yeah.
and this girl that had the youthful body. And that's where I think I still have the pain of resentment.
Mm,
I haven't processed it yet, but I'm alive
mm,
and I'm reclaiming, and my life feels so whole and beautiful.
mm,
Um, but I also have a long distance relationship,
mm-hmm.
and here's a big part: like, there's the Christian understanding of marriage that was hammered into me, and then there's the reality of what my life looks like right now.
Yeah.
None of the rules I played by, I'm playing by anymore.
Same.
And I don't know what that means. I mean, this is the safest relationship I've ever had, but it's not playing by the rules. So it's almost like, if I can't lock it down, if I can't do by the rules, is it safe? Are we
Mm,
okay here? And I have to constantly say yes. Listen to your body. It's the safest you've ever felt.
mm.
But yeah, I don't know. Does it get easier? I don't know, Jen. I think it does. My mind is less. I'm challenging myself less and less.
Yeah. How long have you been in this new relationship?
A year.
Yeah. I'm up north of 3, so I'm not that far ahead of you, but a little bit.
It feels like a good bit of time. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of growth happens in a year. So,
Yeah, it does. And it's tricky because it's not just your own internal questions, because that old script is very, very concrete. That is, here is the order of the things. And
right.
also that marriage is a legitimizer, like
Yes.
that you
Safety.
you will know that this is all good and true and safe and real when you get married,
Then,
you know? And
yes,
so,
on that day.
yeah, it's a tricky narrative, and it's not just coming from inside the house. Like, if I had a
No,
nickel for every person who asked me,
literally,
when are you guys getting
literally,
married?
literally.
I'd quit
Like,
the podcast. I don't need a job.
I mean,
And so it's a lot to manage.
it
That
is.
pervasive idea that that is the authenticator, and anything
It
south of
is.
that is just like, I guess y'all are just like effing around,
Right? I
like,
mean,
you know?
they look at you like you're gross, and I'm like, I think it's normal. This feels way more normal than everything else I've
Yeah,
ever done. So maybe try. I don't know what to tell you here, but I'm at peace, and maybe you should be too.
yeah,
And it's just this funny thing, though. Also, we live in the South.
true.
It's not even, I think, the judgment, except the South loves a freaking wedding.
Yeah,
Man, they just love a dadgum wedding.
yeah.
That's the pinnacle of the love story for them. I have hit the point where the pinnacle of the love story for me is I'm experiencing safety for the first time in my life. And I feel like my partner's with me no matter what that looks like.
Mm,
And I don't right now need or want, it's just an interesting. I'll tell you another thing that I would like to discuss because
let's
I want
go.
your wisdom on it
Let's do
right
it.
quick. And I,
Yeah.
um, is there is the healing that comes inside of the relationship, which can't come from anywhere else.
Hmm.
My therapist prepared me for this. I was like, am I ready to date? And she was like, yes. And then you'll heal some more
Yeah.
because there's some stuff that doesn't even show up until
Right.
you're
In
with this
conflict,
person.
or yeah, you
Yes.
just, there's no other way to learn
Yes.
it.
The heart to the head problem for me right now is that my past, I'm a little youth group girl.
Yeah.
I mean, most adult men didn't live that life.
Mm,
And even though I now understand intimacy to the degree where, I look back on somebody's past, I don't need to know the details, whatever. There is always going to be that drilled in messaging of what the same thing I was taught in church,
mm,
and so I'm constantly going from heart to head with that.
mm.
I know what's true about intimacy. I know that nothing in somebody's past is about me. And there's always going to be this huge experience differential, though.
Mm,
And it makes you feel some kind of way, and you don't even know how to put a finger on it. I
mm.
mean, I went into the world with two partners,
Yeah,
41 years old.
yeah, exactly.
And I'm on the market now with Barbie boobs because I've had cancer and no sexual experience
Yeah,
that's, alive. And, then you get met. And then if it's safe, then it becomes wonderful. And then you have to start facing the stuff that you never had to face before because it never showed up until now.
totally.
And that's a weird space because you know in your heart what's true, but that heart to the head time frame, man, I'd like it to catch up.
It's so challenging. Thank God that I had a therapist
Yes.
to help me work through so many of those early pains, which some of the experience differential, it was, I mean, ours could not have been more opposite. And
Same. Same.
um,
And that's okay.
no, right. That's
Right.
not a judgment on the, it's just what the set of facts were to
Right.
deal with. And then even as I am like in trying to figure out how to heal from my own like internal like sexual fear and
Yes.
um all the shame that
All of
that
it.
came with it is its own work, and then
Yes.
you're partnered in a way, and so it for I would say that for me that took up so much of my energy the entire first year, the whole
Mhm.
first year.
Yes.
And yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I sometimes feel like I'm unevolved. I
Mm,
just can't, because I know and I respect the person that I love, and I feel like their life was way more healthy than mine in that aspect,
yeah.
frankly. Um, but then, the when you feel the depth of your truest love,
Mm,
and then you add that aspect to it, as a woman who's never ever involved yourself in that to that
yeah.
degree, it's like, oh my God, have
Yeah.
you had this with other people?
Yeah.
Holy like, huh? Like it's scary. Like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
I have to be the only person you've ever cared about on this. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, and I think I don't know if that's a Christian thing that we have to feel like we matter to one person and that we're the only one that's ever mattered, and that's how we're legitimized as
Mm.
people. But restructuring intimacy has been an interesting ride. And I want to ask you, because I was
Mm,
scared to click on it a while ago, but you had a course on sex. Do
hmm
you actually cover this stuff? Because I was early in the journey and I was like, I don't want to hear about your sex life, Jen.
hmm
Now I understand it's super complicated.
For sure. Yeah, we cover so much of this. Dr. Celeste Holbrook joined me for that, and she's like literally has a doctorate in sex, whatever that is. Just
I'm
believe me
getting
that
that.
that's a thing you can have. And so,
That sounds like a fun thing to have.
right? Like, what a fun way for higher ed to like present itself.
Absolutely.
Um, and she is so gifted, not just at like the mechanics, although she did. We film all of me courses here at my house. And so I've got like this whole film crew. I've got the camera guys and the lighting guys, and everybody's here. And
This sounds like
and I
fun.
invite my guest in to come join me, and we film the whole thing in my living room. But the whole crew is there, and Celeste comes in. I adore her, and she's got
I
her
love this.
bag, and she just starts passing out little vibrators to everybody.
Oh,
The
and
camera
I still get the
guys.
evangelical blush. Do you? You're like, hee hee, and you're like, this is great, but also, holy crap.
We just died laughing. I'm just
I
like,
love it.
this is so on brand and so amazing. And so
Jen,
she works like
oh,
with a lot of the emotional and the psychological side of sex
psychological.
too. And so I think so much of that has way less to do with our partner,
Oh,
that
nothing to
it's just
do.
internal.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
you don't reverse 40
You're right.
years of programming with one new boyfriend.
No,
You
you're
just,
right.
that's not how it works.
Oh,
And it's
yeah,
not
you're
their
right.
fault, and it's not their
Nope.
responsibility. It
Oh,
is,
that's the big one.
yeah,
Big lesson
yeah.
there.
It's just,
Can't unload that one on somebody
you
else.
can't, and it's not their work to do. And
You're
so
exactly
in
right.
my life, finding an equilibrium there, finding a healthy space just took some time. And it took,
But you're there. You feel safe,
yeah,
secure. The mind
yes,
has caught up with the heart on that
yes,
one.
yes, my mind is quiet. Some of
Oh,
that
that's wonderful.
chatter has like
Yeah.
silenced, and that's just because I have given that pain the gift of time and sustained safety. So
I believe that's where I'm
yeah,
headed.
after a while,
Yeah.
just when my central nervous system has finally gotten the message, you're okay.
Yes.
You
Yes.
don't need to keep running. You
Oh,
are not
yes.
about to be like run into a wall again.
The rug's not
Because
going to be pulled. Yep.
because my story involved betrayal. And
That
so that sexual part of me was so scared.
I can't
Um,
fathom.
and so there's just nothing anybody could do for me except for be consistently safe, like my
Right.
partner was and is, and then let me work it out. And finally, like assimilate the message. You have chosen a safe person. You have created a safe environment together. You are safe in your body. That are
Yep.
that is not an overnight lesson.
Mine was more of a spirit, like a destitution,
Mm-hmm.
than a betrayal. And, I think it was because of the dysfunction that we were both programmed with. And so that leaves a different scar
Mm-hmm.
of an undesirability, and then combine that with the mastectomy. And I just
Mm-hmm.
had to really come to terms with my body. And then I was mad because I was like, man, I was freaking hot in my 20s,
Totally
This
wasted.
is not okay. I
Yeah.
actually, if you take me back there and let me go do what I should have, and
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I don't even feel that way because
Yeah.
I don't even believe intimacy is like that,
Yeah.
So I do have like a holiness around that where I do believe it matters,
Mm.
in a way that probably is more in line with what I grew up, but there's not the fear surrounding it,
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. Tell me this as we kind of wrap it up here.
Yes.
We could obviously talk about all of this for
Jen, I
the
could have
next
so much
eight
fun with you for hours.
hours.
Yes, we could.
Let's talk about when the book comes out, what your
Yes.
like deepest hope for it is.
Oh, thank you
What
for
you'd
asking that.
like these like readers, future readers to
Yes.
know, to expect,
Yes.
to look forward to.
I think what I hope and what I really, really want from this is resonance. This is not a book where I am going to be able to teach anybody any kind of lesson other than this was my path from pain towards healing.
Mm,
This is what I walked through, and this is what it looked like. And I am I know that there are people who have had this journey or in the middle of it.
Mm,
All I really want for them to know is that they're not alone, because I think sometimes that's enough. Like having your voice in my world was enough to give me permission to ask questions.
mm,
So I don't want people to ask all the same questions I asked. I don't want them to come to the same conclusions that I came to. And I hope if I executed the book well, what I encourage them to do is lean into the questions, and trust themselves enough to know that if there is a God worth worshiping and
mm,
there's a life worth living, those things can stand up to your big questions.
mm,
No God is so fragile that your human curiosity is going to break this to pieces.
mm,
And no problem is so big in your
mm,
life that you're not going to get up and keep moving. And that is something that we only learn with age, I think. But there's a lot of freedom after the fear.
mm,
I think that's it. I want them to trust the process, ask questions, and know that the fear is just a feeling. It's a feeling that's not going to kill you. The fear of asking these questions is, it's not going to steal anything from you. I think we have this impending doom feeling
mm,
anytime we allow ourselves to ask a big question that might crack something open.
mhm.
And I say crack it open. See what's over there. That's where the marrow of life has been found for me.
I love it. When does it release?
August 12th, and I'm super nervous about it. So, people go, if this sounds like something y'all might resonate with, go grab it.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like I've talked very heart, this is my heart, and I have no idea what comes next, but
Mm,
I'm really proud of this. And Jen, thank you so much. I love this conversation.
you're so welcome.
I love being here,
Hmm.
and especially with you, with
Mm,
with your book in the back. That's one of my favorites, by the way.
I love it so much. Everybody, we are going to round up everything MK for you, like socials,
Oh,
books,
thank you.
links. We'll get that in like one stop shop for you because you're just also great to follow on socials.
Thank
Um,
you.
and that is okay for that space to continue to evolve too. Lord knows mine has. And so
That is true.
you get to be whoever you are.
Thank
And
you.
Instagram does not tell us what we have to do. The algorithm is not our boss.
The
So
algorithm does not love me, and that's fine. I'm going
yeah,
to keep loving me anyways.
I love this. I love it. Okay. Um, thank you for being here. I'm
Thanks for
really
having
proud
me.
of you. I'm excited. I'm excited for you to experience the reader response to this particular story. I think it's going to probably be really strong, really
Thank you.
connected.
I hope
Um,
so.
there's just something about burrowing into these like deepest spaces of disruption and reinvention that
Yes.
people crave to be seen and to be
And I
understood.
promise there's laughs. I know I bring
There
the
are.
heavy.
There are,
Jen, I love talking with you, and I knew I could go deep quick, and I wanted to, but the laughs are there.
for
The
sure.
heart is there. Because, life's all the things.
It's all the things. And thank God for humor, to be honest. It has
Yes, we're leaning hard into that.
absolutely saved my life too. Okay. Well, I just am so delighted that you were here. You
Thank you.
guys, thank you everyone for listening and love to you. So glad you were here today. I really meant that when I told her we could have just go on and on and on and on about this experience and what it has felt like and what we have learned, what we continue to learn, what we are hoping for, what we'd like to see different for our kids and the next generation. I mean, I don't think we took a breath in that 1 hour. And so if this was resonant with you, we're so glad. I hope that wherever you're at in your kind of faith space, you're certainly not alone. And we're delighted if you can use this podcast if you are wanting to bridge a conversation with someone or explain yourself to someone or just have connection with your own community who may be going through the same evolution. You can also tell us about it. If you go over to jenhatmaker.com under the podcast tab, first of all, this whole show will be there, the show notes, all the links to MK's books and socials, but also there's a send voicemail button, and all you have to do is press it and you can leave a message for us and tell us, hey, this is what I related to, or I have a question about something you said, or, this is my personal response to this episode. And as you know, we listen to all of those and we round them up into really special episodes that are listener submission only, in which we play your recordings and we answer or discuss what it is that you said to us. And so we'd love to hear from you. So you can head over there and give us a message. Thanks for joining us, you guys. We're just forever wanting to use this podcast to serve you well. So thank you for being a subscriber and a listener in such a loyal community. See you next week.